So I've ridden my bike a lot, and I've gone on some really long trips in the middle of nowhere, and I know embarrassingly little about how a bike actually works. And so to learn more, Barbie here has donated herself to science. I'm gonna take apart the whole bike and just see what there is and how it works. I guess we'll start with the wheels, because that is something I know how to do. I just grabbed like every tool from my apartment. Oh my God. Run into the first roadblock, which is, this is so rusty. I feel like I just have to loosen it. Just gonna spray some WD-40 down there, see what happens. Maybe all I need to do is just like lift it out. Let's see. Maybe I have to like hold this one. Counterclockwise. Oh! Oh! We turned it a little. We turned it a little. Cool. We got one. This one's even rustier. Oh. Yeah! We're in business. First, let me deflate the tire. I'll try to talk through what I'm doing as much as I can throughout this, for people who know less than I do, or for people that just want to laugh at me who know more than I do. I've unlatched the brakes at the top, and I've just unscrewed both bolts on the sides of the wheel, because this bike does not have a quick release that like most bikes do. And so now I've deflated the tire so that the tire can pass through the frame, and hopefully I can just lift it right out now. There we go. Let's do one tire first, and then go on to the rest of the bike after that. So first up, we got these bolts on the end here. Next up, there are two washers that go on either side of that. Feels like this is an axle. I wonder if I can just do something dumb and brute force and get it out. I'm gonna hold off on that. We can take the tube out. Let me use my tire levers for that. Oh my God, there is, for some reason, a bunch of green stuff. It's like green and papery. Well, anyway, we finally got the back tire apart. So we have the tube and we have the tire. We have the wheel, the bolts, and the washers. And then there's, you know, this part that spins inside. I really hope I can get that out, but I'm not gonna do that right now. One wheel is already taking too long. Next up, we're gonna just try to do the same thing and get the back tire off. This one is not really budging. Oh. The other one was super loose though. We got the other bolt off, and then beneath that, there's another washer. And then there's the kickstand, which never worked. The bike would still fall over because of the angle that the kickstand was on. So actually, if I had known that it was that easy to just unscrew a thing and take this off, I would have done this to save the weight a long time ago. This probably would have made it a lot easier from the beginning. Oh, okay. We finally got it. Okay. Same setup on the back with a bolt and a washer on each side of the tire. And then we have the actual gear cassette right here that can spin separately from the wheel, which I actually didn't know. We got our two tire levers again. We got the tire itself, or the wheel itself. And then same setup as the other one. We have the tube and the tire. I've taken off both wheels. That was the part I thought I knew how to do. And now we get to the part that I'm actually really interested in, which is taking apart the bike frame itself. Oh, first I'm going to take off the chain, which I'm going to be really careful with because it's insanely rusty. I have a chain link remover on this multi-tool. Oh, we're getting there. I should really have a closer angle on this. Basically what I'm doing right now is I have this tool that has wrapped around the link of the chain, and then I'm just pushing one of the pins out by twisting this over here. And then once that's out, I can show you how to unlink the chain. Okay, I pulled this tiny little pin out of the chain link, and that way now I can get the chain off. Wow. Check out how rusty that is. Let's see what there is to take apart next. So I'm just unscrewing one of the pedals. Oh, and this whole tool came apart. What? I actually don't think I can get the pedal off. The tool just isn't strong enough. This is for skateboarding is what I bought it for. I am gonna do one more thing, which is take the seat off. And I'm also just gonna take apart the part that holds the seat in place. It's basically just a clamp with a bolt on one side and then the, sort of lever on the other. 3 total pieces. Let's just unscrew the brakes and see what happens. I'm just gonna try to remove these in as many places as I can. I'm really glad I got my tetanus shot recently. See, that guy's attached down there. And oh, this is the gear shifter. So this one's the one that's still tight. That gear shifter on the right basically comes down through, on this bike, the top of the frame. Shifting this just loosens and tightens or shifts that just enough to shift the derailleur. Otherwise, there's no other magic or science to it. It's just sort of a wire that gets inserted at the base of a bolt really tightly. I still have to do the same for the other gear shifter that attaches to the back tire. There is another screw that is pretty rusty. I just took these 2 little pieces, a standard looking little nut, and this weird looking washer thing that's a slightly unique shape. I'm just unscrewing more things and seeing what happens. I just took the gear shifter guy off of where it normally sits next to the back tire, and it basically just looks like this, and this was attaching it to the frame itself, just right through here. And then this is movable, kind of spring loaded. There's basically 2 sort of wheels here. Cogs, they look like cogs. Wow, I don't have any of the technical terms I need. I can still see how this piece works. Basically, the chain gets fed through this moving piece and this moving piece and continues through. This must be the derailleur itself. I'm not sure how this comes apart. I would never buy parts for this anyway. I would just buy an individual gear shifter piece that I'm guessing comes like this if I were to ever build a bike from scratch. This is what we're left with. One of the wires for the brake is still in the bike. Again, just squeezed in underneath a nut. We're unscrewing one part of the brake and now the other one. So these are again just bolts and washers. And this does not come off yet. So to remove the brake pad, all I did was really just take off the bolt and washer that attached to the bike frame and then it had another little screw that I guess was just holding it in place, keeping it tight. Let's do the same thing to the front brake pads. Those basically just have standard little bolts and standard little washers that I took off. I'm just unscrewing the other part of the wire that was still in this front brake. And I guess I'll just take that whole screw off. Because why not? Why not? Yeah, okay. This is actually surprising to me. The front brake piece and the back brake piece actually look identical. I would have thought those would be completely different parts that have just a little bit of a different shape, but silly me. Here's a close-up if you're curious. That's what that looks like. And then the back side just looks a little more like what's under the hood. There we go. We got the last brake pad off. And now we just have all these beautiful spaghetti wires hanging off the front of the bike. I see more spaces to insert an Allen wrench, so I'm just gonna do it. Okay, we got this little plate off at the front of the handlebars, which lets us do this. This is the rusty part here where that plate was sitting. The handlebars are just, you know, a piece that was resting with that being really tight on it, which is how the handlebars stayed on the bike. And then there's still all these wires dangling, but now I can see the back here that has these screws that are actually holding them in place. So I bet I can get the wires to be separated, is my thought. Let's see if I'm right. This multi-tool that I have has like 12 different Allen wrench sizes, but I've really only needed one to actually unscrew everything on the bike, which is really cool. So all I've really used is this Allen wrench, the multi-tool that let me take the chain apart, and then an adjustable wrench that I have somewhere littered around my feet. Here it is. So for this handlebar here, this is how you pull it to brake, right? There's a little slit right at the top here that lets you pull the brake itself out, or the wire itself out. And then once the wire is out, basically just slides out like a round peg in a round hole. And then we have no brake there anymore. That's really cool. Pull it tight, open it here, slide it out. Oh my God, I'm learning things. This wasn't a waste after all. This is the front brake, I guess. So it goes from that spot on the handlebars right down to the brake pad on the front wheel. And then the back one is quite a bit longer. This starts at the handlebars and then feeds along the top frame of the bike and then over to the back wheel. This may be common sense to you. When I rotate this to shift the gear, then the wire gets looser and tighter depending on the gear. That's how a bike works. That's how gears work. It's just loose and tight wire. That's so cool. The brake itself, I can take apart. This guy, which is just a flat head up top, I can basically just pop it out. And then there's nothing stopping this from coming out and falling all over the porch. Looks like we can probably just do the other one the same way. Oh, this one is kind of stuck. Hammer time. There we go. That actually worked. We got that screw out. And then I'm just gonna pull this out. So inside that was basically a little plastic ring on one side of the brake lever, and then a little metal guy that's like a little spring coil that I'm guessing is how it shot back up to its normal sitting position once you press the brake. Whoa, what is that? Oh my God. This wire, I didn't notice, is fed through here. Unscrewing more things. You'd think I would have gotten the hang of which way is tight and which way is loose, but I keep forgetting which way counterclockwise is. Whew. This one was tight. Okay. Basically, I can just slide that right off. After I've loosened this piece, it's the opposite of a drop handle. It's just a little piece that sticks up that I can hold my hands in a different position when I'm riding. There wasn't actually anything else holding it in place besides a clamp. So that's actually really cool. I feel like taking all this apart is showing me if I ever wanted to customize my bike in the future, it's not nearly as hard as I thought. I can just kind of unscrew what's on my bike and do it myself. So I'm going to slide the actual grip off now. There's a little tiny baby screw in there. It was hiding because it's scared. This wire basically runs through the gear shifter toggle and then runs through down the frame of the bike. I just can't seem to get it out. Wasn't sure if I could take off the other handlebar, but I can. This is as small as a piece I can get the handlebars, but that's pretty good. We're gonna unscrew this part of the head now. Again, the same universal sort of Allen wrench. Ooh, okay, cool. So that piece is actually really easy to get off. I've seen a website that sells custom little things that sit at the top of your bike handlebars, and it's really just one screw that you have to unscrew to get that off. So I could get something custom there. This is another pretty unique looking piece, but it's actually just one really solid custom hunk of metal. And then this little plate that goes on top of it, and then two screws that sort of latch it together at the back and just rest on top of the frame here. And then there's another little, a big washer. Oh, there's another one of these. This must be a separate piece. I can see all the way through the forks, through the tube, and to the top. I wonder if I can just pull that out. I bet you need some sort of special mallet or something, because that's in really tight. We've gotten this down to one pretty solid hunk of frame. It's getting dark out. The cicadas are probably interfering with the noise on the video. And there's not a lot more I can take apart on the bike that isn't super rusty or I don't have the right tools for. So I'm thinking this is as far as we get. We didn't do the pedals because I don't have the right tool for that somehow. And then the shock absorber looks like it has some bolts that I could take out, but it's very visible. It's not like I really don't understand how that works. It's really just those, but then it's the frame. We had the handlebar, which was a separate piece, and a few different pieces attaching it. And then there was all the things on the handlebars and the brake system throughout it, and then the gear system throughout it, as well as the wheels. That's all the pieces, which makes sense. There's not just a whole bunch of doodads and bells and whistles inside the bike that weren't important. The bike is pretty minimal and functional. I hope you learned something watching me struggle to take this bike apart, and I hope that, it benefits you on your next bike adventure. Peace out.